The fluorescent lights of Rosy's diner hummed their usual tired song as Sarah Martinez wiped down the counter for what felt like the 100th time that shift. It was 2:47 p.m. on a Wednesday, the dead zone between lunch and dinner when the only customers were usually truckers, nursing bottomless coffee, and retirees stretching a slice of pie across an hour of conversation. Sarah had been working at Rosy's for 3 years now, saving up for nursing school. The work was honest, the tips were decent, and most importantly, it was safe. Or at least it had been until today. The bell above the door chimed, and Sarah looked up from her cleaning to see 3 men walk in. They moved with the kind of swagger that immediately set off alarm bells in her head. Shoulders rolled back, eyes scanning the room like they owned it, matching leather jackets that looked expensive but worn in all the wrong ways. The one in front was tall and lean, with a spider web tattoo creeping up his neck. His 2 companions flanked him like shadows, one broad and thick-necked, the other wiry with a face like a ferret. "Sit anywhere you like," Sarah called out, keeping her voice steady and professional, despite the knot forming in her stomach. They took a corner booth, the kind that gave a clear view of both exits. Sarah gave them a minute to settle before approaching with menus and her brightest customer service smile. "What can I get you gentlemen today?" Spiderweb looked her up and down in a way that made her skin crawl. "Coffee, black, and make it fresh. None of that burnt crap." "Of course." Sarah jotted it down. "Anything else?" "Yeah," the ferret-faced one sneered. "Make it snappy. We got places to be." Sarah nodded and turned toward the coffee station, but Spiderweb's voice stopped her. "Hey, you deaf? I said fresh coffee. That pot looks like it's been sitting there since yesterday." Sarah glanced at the pot. It had been brewed less than 20 minutes ago. "This batch is fresh, sir, but I'm happy to brew a new—" "Are you arguing with me?" Spiderweb's voice went cold. The diner had gone quiet. The old man reading the newspaper in the corner booth had stopped turning pages. Even the cook, Miguel, had paused at the window to the kitchen. "No, sir. I'll make a fresh pot right away." Sarah kept her tone even, professional. She'd dealt with difficult customers before. She turned again, but this time Spiderweb stood up, blocking her path. He was at least 6 inches taller than her, and he used every inch of it to loom. "You know what your problem is, sweetheart? You got an attitude? You think you're better than us?" "I don't think that at all. I'm just trying to do my job." Sarah's heart was hammering now, but she kept her chin up. "Your job?" He laughed, a sound like gravel in a blender. "Your job is to do what I tell you when I tell you. Now apologize." "Sir, if I offended you, I'm sorry. Let me just get you that coffee." "Not good enough." His hand shot out and grabbed her wrist, tight enough to hurt. "Get on your knees and apologize properly." The air in the diner seemed to solidify. Miguel started to move from the kitchen, but the thick-necked guy was already up, one hand inside his jacket in a clear threat. I can't do that," Sarah said, trying to pull her wrist free. "Please let go of me." "Make me." What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Sarah tried to twist away, and Spiderweb yanked her back so hard she stumbled. When she caught herself on the edge of their table, he slapped her across the face. A sharp, stinging blow that snapped her head to the side and brought instant tears to her eyes. The sound echoed through the diner like a gunshot. "That's what happens to people who don't show respect," Spiderweb said, releasing her wrist. Sarah stood there, one hand to her burning cheek, too shocked to move. The old man in the corner had stood up, his face pale. Miguel had come around from the kitchen, a spatula still in his hand, looking torn between intervening and getting himself killed. And then the bell above the door chimed again. The sound cut through the tension like a knife. Everyone turned to look. 5 bikers walked in. They weren't the weekend warrior types, the dentists and accountants playing dress-up. These were the real deal. Road-worn leather vests covered in patches, heavy boots that thudded against the linoleum, faces weathered by sun and wind and hard miles. The man in front was massive, easily 6'4", with a gray-streaked beard that reached his chest and arms like tree trunks. His vest read Iron Saints Emgs across the back, with President patched underneath his name. Bear. The bikers stopped just inside the door, taking in the scene with the practiced eye of men who'd seen trouble in 1,000 different flavors. Their gazes moved from Sarah's red cheek to Spiderweb's aggressive stance to the terrified silence that had gripped the diner. Bear's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes went cold and hard as winter steel. "We interrupting something?" His voice was a low rumble that somehow carried to every corner of the room. Spiderweb turned, and for just a second, Sarah saw uncertainty flicker across his face. Then his bravado kicked back in. "Private conversation. Keep moving, old man." Old man. Sarah almost winced. That was a mistake. Bear's eyebrows went up a fraction of an inch. He glanced at his brothers, and something passed between them. Some silent communication that came from years of riding together. Then he looked back at Spiderweb and smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "See, here's the thing," Bear said, starting to walk forward. His brothers fanned out behind him. "We're regular customers here. Been stopping at Rosy's every Wednesday for, 5 years now? And Sarah there," he nodded toward her. "She's always treated us right. Good service, friendly smile, never once complained when we track in half the highway on our boots." He stopped about 10 feet from Spiderweb, his sheer size making the younger man look suddenly smaller. "So when I walk in and see her with a handprint on her face and tears in her eyes, and you standing there looking real proud of yourself, well, that bothers me." "This ain't your business," the thick-necked guy said, his hand still inside his jacket. One of the bikers behind Bear, a lean man with Native American features and eyes like flint, spoke up. "Son, I'd move that hand real slow-like away from whatever you got in there. Real slow." The tension was a living thing now, crackling through the air like electricity before a storm. Spiderweb was doing the math. Sarah could see it. 3 of them against 5 bikers, older guys but with the kind of presence that said they'd been in more fights than these punks had been alive. "We don't want any trouble," Spiderweb said, though his voice had lost some of its edge. "Just having a disagreement with the waitress." Disagreement? Bear's voice was still calm, which somehow made it more terrifying. "That what you call putting your hands on a woman less than half your size? See, where I come from, we got a different word for that. We call it being a coward." Spiderweb's face flushed red. "Watch your mouth, old man." "Or what?" Bear took another step forward. "You gonna hit me too? Come on then. I'm standing right here. Let's see how tough you are against someone who can fight back." The challenge hung in the air. Spiderweb's hands clenched into fists, but he didn't move forward. His 2 companions had gone very still, their earlier bravado evaporating like water on a hot skillet. "That's what I thought," Bear said. He turned to Sarah, his expression softening. "You okay, darling?" Sarah nodded, not trusting her voice. "Miguel?" Bear called toward the kitchen. "You call the cops yet?" "On the phone with them now," Miguel replied, holding up his cell phone. Spiderweb's eyes went wide. "You can't. We didn't do nothing." "You assaulted that young lady," said another biker, this one older with silver hair and a scar across his cheek. "That's battery. Probably some other charges too, given you were trying to intimidate her." "It was just a slap," Ferret-Face protested. "Just a slap?" Bear's voice dropped even lower. Let me tell you something about just a slap. My daughter is about Sarah's age, works her way through college as a waitress, just like her. And if I ever found out someone put their hands on her the way you did to Sarah, there wouldn't be enough of him left to arrest. You understand what I'm saying? The threat wasn't veiled. It was crystal clear and delivered with the absolute certainty of a man who meant every word. Spiderweb looked at the door, clearly calculating whether he could make a run for it. But Bear's brothers had positioned themselves strategically. There was no way out that didn't go through them. "Sit down," Bear said. It wasn't a request. Slowly, the three men sat back in their booth. The thick-necked one had finally moved his hand away from his jacket, both palms now visible on the table in a gesture of surrender. "Sarah," Bear said gently, "you want to come over here by us? Just until the cops arrive." Sarah moved on shaky legs around the counter to stand with the bikers. One of them, a younger guy with kind eyes and a patch that read "Rookie," quietly handed her a clean napkin for her tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "Nothing to thank us for," Rookie said. "Just doing what's right." The minutes that followed felt like hours. The three men sat in sullen silence, occasionally glancing at the bikers who'd positioned themselves between the thugs and any possible escape route. Bear had pulled up a chair near Sarah, not crowding her but staying close enough that she felt protected. "You been working here long?" he asked conversationally, clearly trying to help her calm down. 3 years, Sarah managed. "Saving for nursing school." "Nursing? That's noble work. My ex-wife was a nurse. Toughest person I ever met." He smiled. "Takes a special kind of strength to care for people when they're at their worst." "That's why I want to do it," Sarah said. "To help people." "Well, you've been helping people every Wednesday with good coffee and a kind word. That counts for something, too." The police arrived 7 minutes after Miguel's call. 2 patrol officers who took in the scene with practiced efficiency. Bear and his brothers stepped back but didn't leave, giving statements one by one about what they'd witnessed when they walked in. Spiderweb tried to claim it was all a misunderstanding, that Sarah had gotten hysterical over nothing. But the red mark on her face told a different story, and when Miguel offered to show them the security footage from the camera above the register, the 3 men went quiet. They were arrested on charges of battery and criminal intimidation. As the officers led them out in handcuffs, Spiderweb shot a venomous look back at the diner, but Bear stepped into his line of sight, blocking Sarah from view. The message was clear. "You'll have to go through me first." When the police cars pulled away, Sarah finally let herself collapse into a booth, the adrenaline draining out of her all at once. She was shaking so hard she couldn't hold the glass of water Miguel brought her. Bear slid into the booth across from her, his massive frame seeming to take up half the diner. "First time something like that's happened?" he asked gently. Sarah nodded, not trusting herself to speak without crying. "Won't be the last, unfortunately. World's got its share of people who think power comes from hurting those they perceive as weaker. They're wrong, of course. Real power is knowing you could hurt someone and choosing not to. It's standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves." "Like you did today," Sarah said. Bear shrugged, but there was something in his eyes. Maybe a memory. Maybe regret. "We've all been on the wrong side of things at some point in our lives. The Iron Saints. We're trying to do better now. Make amends, you could say. Besides..." His expression softened. "Someone's got to look out for the good people in this world." "Why?" Sarah asked. "Why did you help me? You don't even know me." "Don't need to know you to know right from wrong," Bear said. "And we've been coming here long enough to know you're one of the good ones. Way you treat everyone the same, whether they're ordering a steak or stretching a cup of coffee across 2 hours. That matters." One of the other bikers, the silver-haired one, approached the table. "We should probably get back on the road, Bear. We're already running late for the VA hospital visit." "VA hospital?" Sarah asked. "We go every Wednesday," Rookie explained, joining them. "Spend a few hours with the veterans, especially the ones who don't get many visitors. Bring some magazines, play cards, just be there, you know?" Sarah felt fresh tears spring to her eyes, but these were different. "You're all veterans?" "Some of us," Bear said. "Others just believe in taking care of the people who served. It's a way to give back." He stood, fishing out his wallet. He pulled out a $100 bill and laid it on the table. "For the coffee we didn't get to drink, and for your trouble." "I can't accept this," Sarah protested. "It's too much." "It's not enough," Bear said firmly. "And I wasn't asking. You take that money, put it toward your nursing school. Consider it an investment in the future. You're going to help a lot of people, Sarah. I can tell." He turned to leave, but Sarah stood up quickly. "Wait." Bear paused. Can I hug you? Is that weird?" The massive biker's face broke into a genuine smile, the kind that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "Not weird at all, darling." Sarah wrapped her arms around him, and it was like hugging a mountain. But it was also the safest she'd felt since the whole nightmare began. When she pulled back, she looked at each of the bikers in turn. "Thank you, all of you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't walked in." "We'll never know," Bear said, "and that's just fine. You take care of yourself, Sarah. And if anyone ever gives you trouble again..." He pulled out a business card with the Iron Saints logo and a phone number. "You call this number. We take care of our own." "But I'm not..." "You are now," Rookie said with a grin. "Anyone who slings coffee to the Iron Saints is family. That's the rule." The bikers left in a thunder of motorcycle engines, a sound that seemed to shake the very foundation of the diner. Sarah stood at the window, watching them pull out onto the highway in a tight formation, heading wherever the road took them next. Miguel came up beside her, still holding his spatula. "You know what's funny? When they first started coming here, I was scared of them. Thought they'd be trouble. And now?" Sarah asked. "Now I know the truth. Sometimes the people who look the scariest on the outside are the gentlest on the inside. And sometimes the monsters wear nice clothes and friendly smiles." He squeezed her shoulder. "You did good today, mija. Kept your head, stayed professional even when that pendejo was way out of line." "I was terrified. Courage isn't not being afraid. It's being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. You've got that in spades." Sarah looked down at the $100 bill on the table, then at the business card in her hand. She thought about the Iron Saints heading to the VA hospital to sit with forgotten veterans. She thought about Bear's daughter, working her way through college, and how he'd stood up for a stranger because she reminded him of someone he loved. She thought about how the scariest moment of her life had been transformed by 5 men on motorcycles who'd had every reason to just keep riding, but chose to stop instead. The bell above the door chimed again, and Sarah instinctively tensed. But it was just Mrs. Patterson, the retired schoolteacher who came in every Wednesday for lemon meringue pie and Earl Grey tea. "Hello, dear," Mrs. Patterson called cheerfully. "You look like you've had quite the afternoon." Sarah touched her cheek where the red mark was already starting to fade. "You could say that, Mrs. Patterson, but I'm okay now." She tucked Bear's business card into her pocket, feeling its weight like a talisman. She was okay. More than okay. She'd been reminded that for every person who chose cruelty, there were others who chose kindness. For every coward who picked on the vulnerable, there were protectors who stood in the gap. And sometimes, just sometimes, those protectors rode motorcycles and went by names like Bear, and they showed up exactly when they were needed most. Sarah picked up her order pad and headed to Mrs. Patterson's table, her smile genuine despite everything. The world could be a scary place, but it could also be beautiful. and she'd just been reminded which one she wanted to help create. Later that evening, after her shift ended, Sarah would go home and apply to nursing school with renewed determination. She'd frame Bear's business card and hang it above her desk as a reminder of the kind of person she wanted to be, someone who stood up for others, who chose kindness over cruelty, who made the world a little bit safer just by being in it. And every Wednesday for years to come, the Iron Saints would stop at Rosy's diner for coffee and pie, and Sarah would always save them the corner booth. Because that's what family did.